Welcome to Chumash Rashi, the Torah portion, Shoftim. We're in the sixth reading. We continue with Moshe Rabbeinu empowering the Jews before his passing and giving over some mitzvahs, as we have right now. So we're in chapter 19, verse number 14. Loisasi gvul, do not pull back the boundary, reyecha, of your friend, asher govlu, rishonim, which were borders set from the onset, from the beginning. Ben achalaschem, with your inheritance, asher tincha ba'aretz, that you will inherit in the land, asher Hashem alakecha na'isen lecha, again, that Hashem your God will give to you, larishta, as a possession, right? Again, repeated, as I've mentioned yesterday, how often this is being repeated, that it's God that's giving us the inheritance. So in others, you're going to get a certain inheritance. Don't now, this is actually theft, that you're going to move the borders of your boundary of your possession. Rashi in 14, Lisasi gvul, do not move back the boundary. This is a terminology of a backed away, meaning that the markers that divide the land, one property to another, you're relocating it, bringing it back. In other words, into your fellow's field. Leman, for what purpose? In order that you expand your own field. Right? But doesn't it already tell us? Don't we already know this from in Vayikra? It says Lo sigzol, that you shouldn't steal, shouldn't rob. This is highway robbery. Literally, you're moving the markers to the highway, so you get bigger property line, right? So why is it Torah you say you shall not move back? Right? In other words, we already know this because this is literally you're robbing someone's land. This teaches us that if one uproots the boundary of his fellow's property, that you're actually transgressing two negative commandments, right? That you should not move it back, right? This verse over here, and that you shouldn't rob, right? That you shouldn't loisigzoil. Yochel. So one might think that this holds true even outside the land of Israel. Talmud Leimar, but the verse says otherwise. In your inheritance that you will inherit, which implies in the land of Israel, if you move the field marker to take more of the property of your neighbor, then you transgress two negative commandments. But outside of Israel, you only transgress that you should not rob. Interesting. Okay. Verse 15. It doesn't mean that you could, by the way, it doesn't mean that you can rob your neighbor's property outside of Israel. It just means you don't have two prohibitions that you are transgressing. Only one. Right? And what witness shall not rise up? Lo yakum means not to rise up. Eid echad, one witness, beish, against a person, l'chol avain, for any iniquity, or l'chol chata, so for any sin, l'chol cheta sheyechta, and any sin that a person will sin. Al pishnei edim, according to two witnesses, or al pi shloisha edim yakum davar, or three witnesses, shall a matter be confirmed, or shall stand. Interesting. We had this already. Let's see what Rashi, right? We already learned this in Parshas. We already learned this, verse 15. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see Rashi. Eid echad, one witness. Zeh bana of. This is a construct of a paradigm. Kol eid shebetorah shnayim. The word any witness in the Torah is two witnesses. Ela im kein prat lacha bo echad. Unless the Torah tells you one for you. In other words, the word aid is one witness because aidim is plural. So aid is one, right? The fact that it says aid echad, one witness, right, refers to a set of witnesses whose testimony will be acceptable by Beis Din. In other words, it's one, because the word aid itself means one witness. Aid echad means one set of testimony.
But that's the default. When you say witness is one set of testimony, which means two.
Yeah.
But then in this case, because it says as like just
No, wherever it says aid, it means one set. When it says aid echad, it means just one.
okay, I see.
It means one story by two people.
Right. When it says just the word aid.
It means one story by two.
No, it's
Right.
When it just says aid, it means the set.
Yes, exactly. Even though it kind of doesn't make sense because it's singular, right? But because it says aid echad, which means it's adding on, so it's telling me that, oh, it's only just one, right? It's adding on, right?
Yeah.
So, right. Okay, next Rashi. Interesting. L'chol oven l'chol chatas, for any iniquity or any sin, liais chaver ne'enash alei dusay, for an individual is punished for by his testimony. Loy einish guf, but not a corporal punishment. Loy einish momen, and not a money punishment, monetary punishment. Aval kam hu l'shavua. Right, but a single witness does stand up for obligating a person to take an oath. Amar l'chaveri. If one says to his fellow, "Tain li mana shel v'sicha," give me a mana. You owe me 100 that I lent you. Amar loy, and the alleged borrower said to him, "Ein l'cha b'yadi klum." You have nothing in I have nothing of yours in my possession. But now comes one witness and testifies, that he does, that he has, but he denies having, right? Right. So he says, yeah, you do owe him 100, but it's only one witness. So now the borrower, the alleged borrower, is obligated to make an oath. So that's what these words are coming to say. So it's interesting. Let's go back on that for a moment. So Eid Echad Lo Yakum, and others. Oh, so the inference is like this: one witness cannot make you guilty, right? But what's the implication? The implication is he can do something. What can he do?
Make you say an oath?
That you can take an oath. Exactly. Because Rashi is learning it from the words "Lo yakum eid echad beish l'chol oven." The exactingness is on the word "lo yakum." He will not make stand your iniquity, but it means he's making something stand. He's making you stand to take an oath. That's okay.
This is just one witness, not one set of witnesses.
Yeah, one witness, because the verse saying because it's saying eid echad. It's not saying aid.
Yeah.
Remember, it's saying aid echad because it's adding the word echad, right, to the word aid, because the word aid itself means a set of witnesses. Okay, got it. Okay, alpi shnayim edim. So by the word, literally by the mouth of two witnesses, which means that they cannot write their testimony in a letter. And they should send it to court. Yamdu Turgaman, or not to have an interpreter stand and give the interpretation. Beina edim and beina dayanim, between the two. So the Rashi, why is Rashi explaining it? Because we already learned this. Was it last week or the week before that we learned that it's that with that Rashi there said, why does it say 2 and 3? Which here it says we already learned about witnesses.
Yeah.
Right. And we learned previously, it says 2 and 3 to tell, because if 2 witnesses are believed, then 3 obviously are believed, right? To tell us that 3 is a set, just like 2 are a set, or 100 is a set. If they're coming together, they're a set, and it's not by the number,
Yeah.
they just become a group.
So 2 witnesses or 100 witnesses, all are just one.
Are the same if they're coming as a group.
Okay.
They're coming as a
They have the
group,
same
right?
effect.
That's what we learned previously. So
Yeah.
Rashi is saying that this verse is coming to tell us something else. Right? That 2 witnesses, it says alpi on the mouth of. They can't write it, they can't have a translator. It has to be from their mouth that the judge hears the testimony.
Yeah.
That's the chiddush of this. Okay. But my question is, which Rashi doesn't address, that's good to tell us that from the mouth of the witness, you have to hear it, right? But why does it say 2 and 3 then? Could have just said 2. Didn't have to say 3. We already learned that 3 is the same as 2.
But it isn't, though. I think it says here that the more witnesses, the less likely they're scheming, but I don't know if that's necessarily.
Yeah, but we already learned that. But
Okay.
we learned that already, because previously it said also al pishnaim or shloisha edim, right? So that notion we already have. Anyways, okay.
But 2 witnesses without an oath, from
Oh, no, what oath? What,
No,
what-
okay, forget what I meant by oath. 2 witnesses coming and saying this person did that makes it guilty.
2 witnesses? Yeah, then they're guilty. Yeah.
Okay,
The first part of the verse was eid echad.
yeah,
Second part of the verse was 2 or 3,
Yeah.
right? Al pi, by the mouth.
yeah,
So Rashi being exacting on the word by the mouth.
yeah. But we don't understand yet why it's saying 2 or.
Why it says 2 or 3? Why does it have to repeat that? Because that notion we already know.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Yes.
Well, on condition you come back.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, well, no,
How
not in
does
2
one-
years.
How does one get a copy of this? Are you doing this every morning?
Every morning. We're online every morning if you want to watch.
I think I'd rather show up in person if, you know,
Okay.
as much as I can. This is really good. It's excellent. Yay.
Okay.
Okay.
Shkayach.
Thanks. Great to see everybody. Takes off inspired.
Okay. 16. Yeah, we're good.
Yes.
Kiyakum eit chamas v'ish la'anais boisora. So kiyakum will arise. Eit chamas means a false witness. Eit, again the word eit. Chamas means chamas. The word chamas means false. Imagine that. It was all foretold. The ish, and he will bear false witness and by a person, lana is by Sarah, to pervert. Sarah means to pervert the testimony against him. Rashi, lana is by Sarah, to testify a fabrication against him. Davar she'enai, a thing that does not exist. That this witness was removed from this entire testimony. Kate said, how so? Rashi explained. For the witnesses who come to disqualify them, said, were you not with us on that day? So now comes witnesses, right? So what Rashi is explaining is that other set of witnesses are coming and saying that the first set of witnesses were false testimony.
Yeah,
What was the false testimony? It says, well, you said on Tuesday, 12 o'clock. Yeah, but Tuesday, 12 o'clock, you were with us. How could you give testimony that you saw what happened there?
yeah.
Right? Oh, you say,
That's
you were
just
there
an
with us, and
example
I've been
you
more
gave.
complaining in such and such a place. Huh?
That's just an example you gave. It's not saying specifically that these witnesses are referring to seeing the other witnesses.
No, so the falsehood is, and it's interesting. Lana is by Sora. Now, this you're a perverted testimony. How do you know that something is a perverted testimony? You know, you can say, well, you didn't see that. How can you? I
You
can't.
would have to have seen them.
So no, so it means because you were with me, so you couldn't have seen that. Yeah. You were with me downtown. How could you say that you were
Yeah.
uptown
Yeah,
and you were there at that time when you were downtown with me at 12
Yeah.
o'clock,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that is how you can pervert a testimony, because to say that you didn't see that, well, you know, how do you know you didn't see it? How do I know that you didn't see
because
that?
I was with you.
Only that's how I know for sure,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
17. V'omdu shnei anashim asher lehem riv lifnei Hashem v'lifnei hakohanim asher iftim asher yeh b'yamim ahem. So v'omdu, and there arose shnei anashim, two men, asher lehem riv, that they have a controversy. Lifnei Hashem, before God, v'lifnei hakohanim, and before the Kohanim, asher iftim, before the judges, asher yeh b'yamim ahem, that will be in those days. Okay, this needs a little explanation. Right, v'omdu shnei anashim. So got up two guys, right? The Eidim Akasim Medaber. What does it mean they got up? It's speaking about witnesses,
Yeah.
right? Well, we might, you know, that's might be that's a novelty, because maybe it says that they had controversy between them. Maybe they had some kind of litigation between them. Rashi's saying no, it's witnesses. It's speaking about witnesses, because if it meant litigants, it wouldn't say two, because there's no limit to the number of litigants. Although there's no limit to the number of witnesses, two implies that it's speaking about witnesses for a matter of how large a group of witnesses. Remember, if it's 100 or two, it is the same group,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that it says two means that they're not litigants, but they're witnesses. Belimed, and it comes to teach us, there's been noshim that's come to teach us that there isn't a testimony by women. Belimed, that doesn't sound very PC, but this is the fact.
But
Right.
this is referring to the witnesses who are contradicting the first set of witnesses.
Yes,
I still don't understand why it's saying that the two men shall stand. Why, like, if it's like four people saying that, why wouldn't it just be? they shall
because
stand?
2 or 4 are the same, remember?
Oh, okay, so,
That principle we've learned.
yeah, okay,
That principle. So the fact that it says 2, in other words, if it was a litigation, 2 people in litigation, it could be more than 2 people in litigation.
yeah,
But 2 means witnesses, because 2 or 100 are
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
group,
understand.
right? So the fact that it says 2 over here means 2 men, it's to exclude women. This comes to teach us. Also comes to teach us that when you give testimony, you have to be standing. Asher lahem riv, they have a dispute. These are the litigants. So that's the litigants.
The one set of witnesses versus the other set of witnesses.
No, a witness isn't a litigant. The
Okay,
witnesses are giving testimony on about the litigation.
yeah,
About the litigation,
Okay.
right? Okay. Lifnei Hashem, what does it mean before God? What was it? Witnesses before God? What does that mean? Yeah, daima lehem, it should seem to them, ki la'imdim lifnei hamakom, that they're standing before God. Shenamar b'kerev elokim mishpat, because it says in the Judges, he shall judge, that God judges he's amongst the judges when they give judgment. Asher b'yamayim, that will be in those days. Yiftach b'deirei, Yiftach in his generation, Shmuel b'deirei is like Shmuel in his generation. You have to respect them. In other words, if this court of law, what's this talking about is that let's go back to the verse. So 2 witnesses will get up, Asher lahem, that there is a controversy, that they are now giving testimony, right? of two litigants, or litigants, that's
Yeah.
and many litigants, right? They need to know that they're standing before God. Because God, when you're standing in a court, you have to know that God is in that court, in the judges. And therefore, and it'll be, what does it mean? The judges who are in those days. What do you mean those days? Any days. Why in those days? Because the judge in those days are equal to the judges of any other day that you have to be honorable to them.
Okay.
Right, the litigants here actually speaking about, right, they have to be honorable, even though they might be a lesser quality judge,
Because God
right?
is
Because Yiftach was not as great as Shmuel was,
yeah.
but it doesn't matter. God sits amongst them,
Yeah.
therefore you have to
Okay.
be honorable to them, the litigants. Whoa. But Rashi did not. Why does it say Lifnei Kohanim before the Kohen? Then it says the judges. Well, what do you need Kohanim if you have judges? Rashi doesn't explain that. Okay. 18. We're good? And the judges shall inquire very well. And behold, eid sheker ona be'ochi, eid sheker, false testimony. Eid sheker ona be'ochi, that he's testified falsely against his brother. Rashi in 18. Darshu b'shoftim heitiv. Right, that you have to judge, the judges shall inquire well, alpi shemizami moisam, by the words of those who come to impugn them. Sheboitkim v'choikim es aboyim la'zamim, that we have to check and investigate those who come to impugn the first set of witnesses, right? Bedrisha, with inquiry, v'chakira, with investigation.
You're just investigating the testimony
Of the second set of witnesses who are impugning the first set,
okay.
right? Because you were not there, you were with me on
Yeah.
Tuesday at noontime, right? So that you have to now investigate very well.
Yeah, so it's not like the judge is just saying, okay, I accept that you two are just.
No, never. Yeah, even the first set of judges, but now the witnesses, but this is even more so, right? Hine, a checker, and behold, they are bearing false testimony. Call Malcolm Shenemer aid, wherever it says witnesses, right? Mishnai Makos Medaber, it speaks about two. Remember, we said that already. That principle we already said. If it says aid echad, so it means one witness, but it says the word aid, it means the two.
Which could mean at any number.
Right, the group.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay,
You guys keep
19.
saying this over and over about.
Huh?
Anyway, it keep going. I'm reading it.
Okay, 19. And you shall do to him kasher zamam, that which he plotted, that he wanted to do to his brother. And you shall abolish the evil from within you. Rashi, kasher zamam, in 19, that which he conspired, right, or which he plotted either, right? V'lo kasher also, but not that as he did. What does that mean? Mikan, from here we learn, based on this, Hargu, let's say the first set of witnesses who became false witnesses, they caused that the one litigant was killed because of their testimony.
Yeah.
You know, we warned you. They say that we warned Yankel Schmenkel, right? They warned Shmerel that he shouldn't kill, and he acknowledged and he killed.
Yeah.
And we were there. And that's what they're giving testimony. And the guy was killed because of that.
Yeah.
Right? After the investigation and so on and so forth. Right? He was killed because of that. Ain't there going. So those witnesses who got him to be killed, they're not killed. They're not killed. Why? Because it says Asher Zamam, that they plotted to kill. Then they get killed, but not if they actually did kill. That's which is not logical, by the way. right?
So, well, I don't understand the difference between plotted to kill and, you're saying like if the witnesses plotted for this guy to be killed through
But-
their false testimony.
But in fact, he didn't get killed because it was in the middle of the court case.
Then nothing happened, because nothing.
No, if they plotted, then we're gonna see they do get killed.
Even if the person who they plotted against didn't get killed.
Right.
They get killed.
Whatever they plotted, whatever they plotted to do, that's what will happen to them.
So it's really their intention that matters rather than what actually happens.
No, it's their testimony that matters,
No,
not
I
their
know, but-
intent, not their
no,
intent,
no,
not
but
their,
if-
not their intention.
If they're
No.
giving a testimony that
Not their
results,
intention their testimony that they gave, which was right to kill,
Mhm.
right? That was their intent,
Yeah.
right? Right. As opposed to they did give the testimony and he was killed. That's excluding that. In such a case, not killed,
I
that
see.
the witness is, which doesn't make sense. There should be all the more so he should be killed, right?
Yeah,
Right? All the more so you should be killed. But doesn't we're not it's not based on logic, it's based what the Torah is teaching. And that's the uniqueness of the word that they plotted rather than they actually killed,
yeah.
right? Plotted and killed based on their testimony, right? Next Rashi. Lasei Salachib, to do to their brother. Not Amaladachi. Why does it say to his brother, to your brother? Limit, this teaches you. If there's false testimony regarding a married daughter of a Kayin by saying that she had committed adultery, that they are not put to death by burning, Ella, rather by the death of the one who had relations, right? Shehu chenek, which is strangulation. Shenemar, it says by her that she gets by fire. Fire means that she takes something very fiery that burns from the inside. Doesn't mean literal fire. And she was not one who had with whom she had relations. That's what it says over the Ochi to his brother, which implies that he conspired to do his brother, like what he conspired to his sister. The whole Sharmi says, but regarding all other court-imposed deaths, Hishva Kosov Leisha, they're equal. The Zaim Isha and Zaim of a woman who testified against a woman, their Ragim, are killed. The Zaim Ish, just as Zaimim of a man, going for instance, Sheiduha, if they testified against her, Baharga es Nefesh, and she killed a person, Shechil is Shabbos, that she desecrated Shabbos, and they found there were Zaimim, their Ragim and Misasa, they are killed with her death, what she would have suffered if the testimony stood. Because it was excluding here the sister, only a situation where the law of Zaimim can be fulfilled against the witnesses, but Misas Abayel in the matter of the death of the relations of a married daughter. Okay, this is a little complicated, and I'm not certain I'm going to give this over right. Whether it's a man or a woman who are giving the fault. Well, I'm a little confused actually. Okay.
It seems like it's saying in the.
And if you plot against a man or a woman, it's the same thing. Except in one situation where the death penalty will be different, which will be to the daughter of a Kayin, the right, an adulterous affair, that she gets the punishment of his, of the male perpetrator in the affair.
The false witnesses do. Even though they were going after they were testifying against the woman.
Yes, exactly.
Because really they were like going after the man.
No. It just means the punishment will not be a burning manner.
Like the
It'll be
female.
strangulation,
Okay.
right? That's what it'll be. It's a bit interesting. It's a
But
bit
does the
tough.
same principle apply in this one as the previous one, where if it was like their intention was
Yeah, that remains the same.
that's for
That
okay.
remains the same, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We got a little trucking over here. Okay, it's not easy stuff, but let's try to stop. Okay. And those who remain shall listen and fear, and they shall no longer continue to commit any such evil amongst the Jewish people. In other words, let's see Rashi. This tells us that you have to make this public, the death penalty that they're getting. Ish ploini uploini, such and such a person, eragim, he's getting the death sentence. I'll show Zoma Basin. Why? Because he was a plotting witness to bring death to someone else, right? And therefore he's getting death sentence. Why is this now? People should see this, and therefore they should fear to bear false testimony in a court. Because look what's going to happen. It's going to come out that you lied, right? You bared false testimony, and you're going to get death sentence. I mean, in a similar fashion, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you plotted is going to happen to you. They should not have pity. Your eyes should not have pity. Nefesh b'nefesh, an life for a life, ayin b'ayin, an eye for an eye, shein b'shein, a tooth for a tooth, yad b'yad, regel b'regel, a hand for a hand, and a foot for a foot. Rashi, ayin b'ayin, moment. This means money. Achein shein b'shein, likewise a tooth for a tooth. Others, it doesn't mean. In other words, we just spoke about that, about someone was giving false testimony that could have potentially brought death sentence to somebody, right?
Yeah.
They get that. Now, how about in other instances? How about financial? So that's what this means. A hand for a hand, a foot for a foot means financial, right? That if you were bearing false testimony and that this person would end up paying whatever it is, if you're a false, you have to pay it. Okay, that's what okay. Next chapter, or chapter 21, verse 1. He says, when you go out to battle, upon your enemy, and you will see your enemy's horse or a chariot, and that the people are more numerous than you. Don't be fearful of them. Because Hashem, your God, is with you. The one who brought you out of Egypt. So don't be fearful. Rashi says to them, when you go out to battle, why is this juxtaposed over here going out to war after dealing with witnesses, right? Specifically the verse eye for an eye. This is to tell you that someone who's missing a limb doesn't go out to battle. That's why they're juxtaposed. Okay? That's one explanation. Alternative explanation of why this is to tell you that if you carry out righteous judgment, you are assured that when you will go out to battle, you're going to be triumphant. Wow. Likewise, King David said, as it says in Tehillim 119, that I have practiced justice and righteousness. Do not leave me to my oppressors. Right? He's praying to God. I did right in justice. God, when we're battling our enemies, make sure you're there with me. Okay? Against your enemy, they should be like your enemies in your eyes. Don't have mercy on them, because they will not have mercy on you. You hear that? No mercy against our enemy.
Oh,
that's what the verse just said.
Yep.
No mercy. Not allowed to have it. Not allowed to have mercy against the enemy. Sus v'rechev. Interesting. Not clear where Rashi gets the idea of mercy over here. Like when you go out to battle against your enemy, I mean, know that they're your enemy, which means that they're not going to have compassion on you. I guess,
But does that apply to all enemies?
enemy is an enemy. What's the difference? If they're an enemy, they're an enemy. Like, how do
You
you
never have mercy on any enemy.
Wow. Sus v'rechev. By the way, that doesn't mean, by Jewish law, when you go to battle against a city, when you make a siege, you leave one side open, so
Yeah.
whoever wants to run away can run away.
That does not mean that.
It's not a contradiction because they're running away. Whoever doesn't want to battle you, right, and they want to run away, you have to give them the opportunity they can run away.
Yeah.
And not be killed in battle, right?
Yeah.
Who's remaining is your enemy. Okay?
Yeah.
Sus v'rechev, as a horse and a chariot. Be'enai chashuvin kulam. It doesn't say plural; it's in singular form, right? In my eyes, God considers all of them kesus echad, like one horse. Likewise, it says the hikitza is midyan ki shechad, that you shall strike Midian as a single man. Likewise, it says kibasus with a horse, even though it came with a whole army, but it says only a horse, because before God, it's considered as one horse, one chariot. Amrab nimcha, that they are more numerous than you. Beinecha, Rab, in your eyes, they seem numerous. Ava beina, but in mine, Rav, they're not numerous. Okay?
So it's all an illusion that your enemy is really stronger than you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's an illusion only because you're looking through your eyes and not through God's eyes. Because in God's eyes, they are like one horse, coming against you. Oh yeah, and it will be when you approach them in battle, and the Kayin shall come near and he shall speak to the people. Rashi, number 2, when you draw near to war, just when you're about the departure from the boundary, from the border of your land, the Kayin shall approach. He's anointed by oil and to do this job. And he's called anointed for war. And he shall speak to the people in the holy tongue. And he shall say to them, what should he say to them? Follow carefully, folks. And he shall say to them, Shema Yisrael, listen, Israel. You're coming close today to battle. You're approaching to battle today. Against your enemy. Do not be faint of heart. And don't be afraid. And don't be alarmed. And don't be terrified because of them. Rashi. There's a lot he's saying here, huh?
Yep.
Shema Yisrael, listen, Israel. I feel even if you have no merit. But the only thing you have a merit is you say Shema every day. Kedayatem, you're still worthy. That God should save you. Wow. Again, against your enemy. These are not your brothers. Be aware. Because if you fall into their hands, aleichem. They're not going to have mercy upon you. Ein zo kemilchamas Yehuda im Yisrael. This is like the war of Judah and Israel, right? The 10, the 10 tribes versus Judah. Shenemar, which it says, Yakum Anashim Yanikvo Vivishema, the men of designated by name arose, Yachaziku Shivya, and they took hold of captives, Cholamaru Mayhem, Elbishra, and they clothed all their nakedness, Mina Shalom from the spoils, Yalbishum, and they clothed them, Yanilum, and they put clothes on them, Yachilum, and they fed them, Yashkum, and they gave them to drink, Yasu. The suchum, they anointed them with oil in Nalum, the whole koishel, and they led on donkeys all who stumbled. This is what they did to the enemy. Who was the enemy? Their brother, right? It was their brother, right? It was a Jew fighting a Jew. And they brought him to Jericho, a city of palms, next to their brothers. And they returned to Shomrim, Samaria, right? Ella, that's when they fought their brother. But against these enemies that you're going to fight, right, in Canaan, right? Therefore, you have to strengthen yourself in battle. Right? Don't be weak.
But is he explicitly saying that if the God forbid a Jew was in a war against another Jew, then you
He said there was compassion.
okay.
Yeah.
So you execute
Because they're your brother. No, you have compassion. That's what happened, in fact.
Yeah.
That's what Rashi is saying. That's what happened, in fact,
Okay.
right? Next Rashi, so don't be faint of heart, don't be afraid, don't panic, and don't break down. Arba Hazaras. There are 4 different things said over here. Can I get Arba Dvarim that correspond to 4 things? The kings of nations do to frighten the enemy when they go to war. What are the 4 things? Megifim bitri sehem. They make their shields collide. Right? They make a lot of noise, right? To bring fear. Right? To bang against the shields, one against the other, in order to make a very loud sound. And so those who oppose them would panic and flee. And they stamp their horses, right? You've seen this in the movies, right? They get their horses, they make a lot, they make them raise her to front 2 feet, they make them a lot of noise, right? They make them neigh, to go in a frenzy. Lashmiya call Shat is a parasas susaim, and to make sounds with the beating of the horses' hooves that should be heard. And they shout with loud voices, and they blow trumpets. And the other sound producing devices, right? These heart, your heart is faint. And let your heart not be faint. That's Allah Susim, from the neighing of the horses, and don't be afraid. Gefis atrisim, from the colliding of the shield, and don't panic. From the sounds of the horns of the shofar, and don't break down. From the sounds of shouts. Right, the 4 things. This is what it's. Number 4. Because Hashem, your God, is going with you. To battle, lachem, for you. Against your enemies to save you. Wow. It's got to be learned in the IDF. IDF's got to learn today's Torah portion. For Hashem, your God, that our enemy is coming to triumph, triumph of flesh and blood. But you're coming to be triumphant for God. Please, Team Bob, the Philistines came with the hope of Goliath, that he would triumph. What was his end? Nafal, he fell. And the rest of them fell with him. And he goes with you. This is the camp of the ark that goes before you in the battle. Pesach. Today's Chumash and Rashi, the IDF has to learn it day after day. Unbelievable. Number 5, Dibru then the officer shall speak, Ela'am, to the people, Lamor, saying, Mi Aisha Sherbona Abayis, Chadash, who is a person that built a new house, and he didn't yet inaugurate it. Yelach, he should go. B'yashav, and he should return, Lebesa, to his home. And lest he die in war, and another man is going to inaugurate his new home. Look at this. Look at the compassion over here. Maybe this is the compassion that would, right? In other words, they're going out to battle. Now comes an officer. Before it was the Kohen Mashuach, was the Kohen, who's, don't be fearful, God's with you, right? The 4 different languages, the 4 different things that they do in battle, right? And now comes an officer and says, wait a second, someone who has a new home and didn't inaugurate the home, don't go to battle. Go home. Rashi 5, he did not live in it. Chinuch means a beginning. Another person will inaugurate it. This is a sorrowful matter. In other words, you build a home and you didn't even get to live in it, right? So go home. Now next thing, who's a person who planted a vineyard, and he has not yet redeemed it. He should go and go home to his house. Lest he fall in battle. He die in battle, rather. Another person is going to redeem it. Rashi in number 6, he did not. The word chila really means profane it. Like padeh, but it means to redeem it. And therefore, Bishas Revis is speaking in the 4th year, because what do you have to do? First 3 years are Arla, right? You're not allowed to eat from a new tree, right? It's fruit. The 4th year, you can't eat it regular. What do you have to do? You have to redeem it and bring it to Jerusalem and eat it there, right? Just like tithes, second tithe, you have to bring to Jerusalem. So this is also the 4th year, you have to bring of a tree, you have to bring it to Jerusalem and you have to eat it there. So you're redeeming it so you can now bring it to Jerusalem, right? By bringing it to Jerusalem. Or you redeemed it by redeeming it on money, and then you take the money to Jerusalem, and then you buy fruit there, or food there, provisions there, and you eat it there. The point is that you didn't get a chance to do that. You worked your vineyard for 3 years. You didn't have any benefit from it for 3 years because you're not allowed to, right? So 4th year, finally, the benefit is you're going to go to Jerusalem and you're going to celebrate with God. So if you didn't do that, go home. And you'd bring the money to Jerusalem. Number 7, Mia Isha Sher Eres Isha, who's a man who betrothed a woman, but he didn't take her as a wife. Yelach, he should go, Biyasha, the base and go home. Penyam was lest he died, but Muhammad in the battle, the Isha another man's going to take her as a wife. Penyam was Muhammad, he'll die, Yashub and Yamus, he should return lest he die. She'im lo yishma the divrei HaKohen can die hu sheyamus. Because if he doesn't listen to the words of the Kohen and go home, it's fitting that he should die.
So if he says, no, I don't want to go back, I don't care about going back to my house.
So he's fitting to die because he should go. Interesting what Rashi says over here. Need a little understanding of that. Okay, quickly. Oh boy. Okay, the officer shall continue to speak alam to the nation, and they should say, who is a man that has got who is frightened, right? And is faint of heart. Yelach, he should also go. And go home. And he should not cause the heart of his brothers to melt as his heart. Rashi in number 8. We're gonna go very quickly. Yasser Shoftim. Lama American Yosef. Why does it say that he continues? He's adding to the words of Kohen. Because the Kohen says Mashmiya, and he announces the Kohen, the anointed one for war. He speaks, and the other Kohen repeat his words loudly. Pen Shema Yisrael, Mina Shema, from the Shema Yisrael, Ad Lo Yeshiaschem, until they save you. In others, verses 3 and 4 from before. And whereas where it says who's the man v'shnei shlishi of the second and the third verses, Kohen medaber, the Kohen speaks, v'shreitim mashmiya, and the officer announces, repeats the words loudly, v'zeh, but this verse, shreitim medaber, the officer speaks, v'shreitim mashmiya, and the officer announces. Yerach levav, that someone is fearful and faithful of heart. Rabbi Akiva says it should be understood that it sounds literally. It's not able to stand in the battle. The leader is that the sword is drawn. That it means literally. Rabbi Yosef understands it differently. Person is fearful of the sins he has in his hands, not of the battle. He's not afraid of a sword. He's afraid of he has sin, and therefore, and yes, therefore the Torah provides him a pretext that he can return to his house for a vineyard, for the house or the vineyard or the wife, right? To cover up for those who are returning because of the sins they have in their hands. The people shouldn't discern that they are sinners. The one that the people see that they're returning from battle, they're going to say Shema Banabayis. Maybe he built a house, or not the Keram, or he planted a vineyard, or Eresisha, maybe he betrothed a wife. In other words, really why he's returning is because he's got sin on his hand. But but the people are going to think he's returning because he just married a woman or he just betrothed her, right? And that's why. So it's covering up on his sin.
So those people who are going back just happen, like, also have secret sins?
No. Two opinions over here. Rabbi Akiva says, right, he says they're afraid of battle.
Yeah.
Yossi Aglili says no, they're afraid of their sin, but it's covering up. Their sin is being covered up, that people are going to think that they're going back because they betrothed a woman and didn't marry her yet, or that they didn't have their vineyard any benefit from it. Okay? Two different opinions. It's too much right now to go into. Pen Yamas ben Muhammad, lest he die in war, Yashib and Yamas, he should go back, lest he die, Shi'im, La Yishma, La Dibra Akayim, because if he doesn't listen to the Koyin, it's fitting that he should die.
Oh, yeah.
Number 9. And it will be when the officers finish to speak, Ledaber, Elam to the nation, they shall appoint officers, legions, the edges of the people. Last Rashi in number 9. Sorry, Tzabois. The leaders of the legion, Shamayidim is Zikfan. They have commissioned uprighters, Milifnim, in front of the troops, and at the behind them. And they have iron axes in their hands. Anybody who wants to retreat, they have the authority to chop off their legs. Adam Imdim, the uprighters are people who stand at the edge of the battle formation. These goyif is noiflim, to raise the upright who are falling. L'zakim the bidvarim, and to strengthen them verbally. Shuvah al melchama, go back to battle. Leisanusan, do not flee. Shetchilas nefila nisa, the beginning of the downfall is flight. Okay, I wish I could explain that more, but it means that this is after everybody left who was afraid. Now what's left are those who have to fight. Anybody that now runs, that's, you're going to ruin it for everybody. You're going to bring the downfall of the army.
Even if you're afraid of your own sin?
No, that you had to leave already. If you didn't and you stayed, that's what it's talking about.